2. Approaching hostility. Undead will not drown. Although in the game that Black loves and is familiar with, the undead characters will die if they stay in the water for a long time, but that is just a gameplay design. In reality, the undead are not afraid of water. Just like now. Blake Shaw was walking along the edge of the seabed under the sea, following the route he remembered, from the Cosmodan Sea area to the wetlands in the southeast. Although the wetlands belonging to the Dwarf Kingdom had been occupied by tribal orcs at this point in time, it was, after all, the closest land to this naval battle area. Blake couldn't have been in the water all the time. He has to get in touch with people. Relying on the cursed evil weapon to survive, this is just the beginning. If he doesn't want to continue as a cursed undead forever, he must find a skilled priest of the Holy Light to dispel this curse for him. Although the tainted eye of Paul's saved Black from a desperate situation, it was definitely not a good thing. While that thing saved him, it also brought him an indescribable change. A few minutes after leaving the battle area, he immediately felt the dark magic of this cursed thing seep into his body. It was subtly eroding him. Blake touched his forehead again, and the damned character card information immediately appeared, floating in front of him like a translucent, very much like the effect of pressing the C key in a game. It's just that the data on it has changed a lot. Character card, Derek Proudmore, Blake Shaw. Info, Kultira's human, 19 years old. Status, mortal body. Shadow curse. Life solidification. Weak. Magical invasion. Class, Warrior 7/Navigator 15/Stalker 5. Legendary class, none. Mythic class, none. Title, Prince of Kultiras. Equip, Tainted Eye of Paul's. Talents, Son of the Sea, Shadow Affinity, Elementary, Proudmore Bloodline, Seal of Hate. Skill. Kultira's Military Swordsmanship, Beginner. Deadly Throw, Beginner. Fist of the Tides, Adept. Navigation, Proficient. The undead Blake widened his eyes. He could see clearly that when he was holding the cursed weapon, his rank was rapidly diminishing. The warrior class dropped 3 levels within 10 minutes, which is the most serious. The navigator also dropped 1 level, the stalker, or another name that is not so civilized, the rogue class did not drop, probably because this class walked in the shadows and used the power of shadows. This is also evidenced by the extra shadow affinity in the talent. It seems that this character card will change with the state of Black. In addition, there is unfortunate news, because the warrior class has dropped all the way from level 10 to level 7, so under Blake's twitching gaze, the battlefield warrior in the talent column has disappeared. Moreover, the skilled military swordsmanship has slipped to the beginner level, and the mastery of the tied fist has slipped to the proficient level. He felt a wave of weakness, as if he had lost something precious, and his hands seemed to be weak. Shoo. The purple-black crystal ball was thrown back into the suitcase by Blake in the next instant, and was tightened and fastened by the key. The magic of darkness no longer radiated, and Blake's character card changed again. Magic invasion status has been removed. However, the curse of shadow and the solidification of life are still there, and the primary shadow affinity obtained from the penetration of dark magic is still there, which is a small surprise. But if he continues to hold the cursed weapon, even with the protection of a magic suitcase, he will still be further weakened, turning from a good NPC recruit template to a powerless little trash. We must quickly find a priest to purify it. Damn it. Blake cursed in a low voice. He tied the magic suitcase around his waist with cloth strips, and continued to speed up the seabed. He walked like this for nearly 4 hours. After the night fell completely, he finally set foot on the wetland shore by the low tide. Snapped. The moment he stepped on the muddy beach, Blake was lying on the beach. He stretched out his limbs, like a drowned guy, unwilling to move a finger. Indeed, the undead do not die. But the dead get tired. Not only the numbness from his body, but also the exhaustion in his soul, as if he had stayed up for 2 days and 2 nights, and now he just wants to get a good night's sleep. So, in the low tide, he closed his eyes and fell asleep, and the next instant, all kinds of memories came chaotically. The sea was surging, accompanied by his snoring. Ha! Is the timeline fluctuating? In another wild continent far away from the eastern continent by an endless sea, in the endless desert, a mysterious place that only exists in the mouths of spellcasters talking about legends. In the 10,000 years cave lingered by the streamer of time and space, there was a voice that sounded as if it had just woken up. In a very comfortable and warm nest that was packed up. A graceful creature raised its head slightly dazedly. It has a head like a snake. Eyes like snake pupils. The whole body is covered with fine bronze scales as well as bat wings, but larger, stackable wings. The abdomen is slightly bloated, but the neck is slender, and the same slender tail is also covered with bone spurs. And the 4 sharp claws hidden under the belly. It will pop out sharp claws and smash wood, steel or flesh effortlessly. It will curl its tail and body together like a cat. It is obviously just waking up from a deep sleep. When its elegant neck is raised, the 5 long horns on its head also emit a metal-like light. This is a dragon. The body length is nearly 30 meters, far less huge than the 3 red dragons that ravage the Cosmodan Sea area today. Such a body length also means that this bronze dragon is only a young dragon. Not yet an adult. But it is also already a member of the glorious bronze dragon flight. Although his strength is weak, he has no way to enter the glorious scale of quicksand, follow the great king of time His Majesty Nozdormu, and maintain the time network of Azeroth. But it has also been assigned its own work. Time is an invisible force. But in the bronze dragon eye, it is like a river that can enter and exit at will, and the timeline of Azeroth is special. It is a network structure. Every important time node is intertwined with each other. If it is disturbed by external force, the timeline will go in the wrong direction. That kind of error will give rise to a tributary of time. Most tributaries will not affect the main body of the world line, but if too many time nodes are affected at one time, it will cause terrible problems. The job of a young dragon like it is to maintain the stability of a certain time node, be alert to the intervention of external forces, and promptly clean up those time residues that cause confusion. This job has been very easy for the past 100,000 years, but it has become more difficult recently. There is a mysterious force that the bronze dragon is not yet familiar with, and it begins to quietly penetrate those less important time nodes, like a small prank. But it has aroused the vigilance of the Bronze Dragon Legion, so in recent years, the few, but elite quicksand scales have been very busy and frequently shuttled between various nodes. Beginners like this young dragon became busy because of this. The time fluctuation is in the Cosmodan Sea area, the intensity is not high, and it has not touched the stability of the time node, but let's take a look. The young dragon quickly followed the vibration of the timeline and found the source of the fluctuation. It moved its huge body lazily and walked out of its lair. In front of it, the once lively cave of time, the base camp of the Bronze Dragon Legion, has now become deserted. Except for some newly hatched young dragons, who are playing under the protection of dragon people, everyone has their own work to do. This holy place is full of crimson energy, which is the manifestation of the power of time, just like a rainbow or aurora, which is distributed in every fork in the sand and dust. In the huge cave, there are doors leading to various important time nodes. But in those large time nodes, only the elite scales of quicksand can enter, and young dragons like it are not qualified to participate in the protection of those important nodes. This is not contempt. It's not oppression. This is a prudent protection. Hey, Sephir, you should work harder too. The young dragon sighed, his big eyes showed human helplessness. He raised his head and said to himself, "That troublemaker Chromie was only born 100 years before me, but she is already the youngest member of Scales of Quicksand, and I can't be compared with her. That idiot stole my food and bullied me since I was a child. Alas, I haven't seen her for a long time. I'll go to the past or the future and play with her." A cloud of sand-like bronze streamer shrouded the young dragon, and as it took a step forward, the huge body suddenly shrank. In just an instant, he changed from dragon form to human form. She became a tall elf lady with white skin, tall stature, wearing a long moon-white dress, long silver-gray hair, and a delicate blue gem headband. Dragons have this kind of polymorphism, which is quite simple for them to master mystical powers. The young dragon Sephir was suspended a few inches on the ground. She looked left and right, and then summoned a dragon beast, instructing the servants of these giant dragons to help her clean up the lair and exchange crystal gems or something. Just like the mage, he used the flash technique to quickly leave the inner ring of the cavern of time. When he reached the outer ring, he returned to the form of a giant dragon, flapped his wings, and flew towards the Cosmodan Sea area. It's just a young dragon, and it can't use teleportation across continents. Fortunately, even young dragons are truly legendary creatures. The flight speed is definitely fast enough. A few hours later, the young dragon Sephir, who flew over the endless sea, and looked a little tired, landed on the tide island on the edge of Cosmodan waters. This is a military port, but it has now been completely destroyed and occupied by the orc fleet. When the young dragons arrived, those brutal orcs were dealing with the bodies of the Kultiras sailors who died here. Not alive. No one surrendered. These soldiers who served Admiral Dai Lin were extremely brave. They fought to the last moment and died heroically. This is also why the violent and powerful orc tribe took 6 full years and suffered heavy casualties before reaching the northern border. Because they are not facing an opponent that can be easily dismissed. Especially when human warriors are fighting to defend their homeland and country, their courage is no weaker than that of orcs. It's just that everything that makes people feel emotional has no meaning to Safur. It is a dragon. Its view of good and evil is different from that of mortal creatures, and their joys, sorrows are not in common with dragons. Safur transformed into an elf form, suspended high in the sky, raised his left hand. The time power like sand and dust was radiated and condensed into a delicate hourglass in front of her eyes. She closed her eyes and sensed the timeline here. The orcs crossed the sea, the facts match, the Third Fleet sank, the facts match, the enslaved red dragon participated in the battle, the facts match, Drake Proudmoore died here in the battle, the facts match, etc. Safur opened his eyes at this moment. She flew to the sea area ahead at a whistling speed, took the shape of a giant dragon, plunged into the sea, and splashed a huge splash of water, attracting the attention of the orcs who were patrolling nearby. But they simply couldn't capture the scene of a legendary creature entering the water. Half an hour later, the young dragon Safur searched the entire seabed of Cosmodan waters, carefully identifying the wreckage of every ship and every corpse. A touch of tension and anger appeared in its huge dragon eyes. Drake's body is not here, and the polluted Eye of Paul's has disappeared, but he is obviously dead, and I can't feel his breath. The timeline is disturbed. A time residue is in action. Is it that group of mice that hide their heads and show their tails again? What conspiracy are they planning? Scales of quicksand must be reported. At this moment, the young dragon's thoughts were interrupted. Scales of quicksand is very busy. Every member is very busy, and Derek Proudmoore is not a big man in the future world line. He's just an insignificant node. Far less important than his sister Jaina. Even if such a situation is reported, there will be no adult bronze dragon to deal with it in a short time. Then I'll find it myself. The young dragon made up his mind in an instant. It's a shame that there is a problem with the time node that I am responsible for, and I was escaped by the time residue. It must wash away this shame with its own hands. I won't let you laugh at me again, nasty Chromie. The body of the young dragon floated up quickly in the water, and after a few seconds, it rushed into the sky. I will definitely find him. The residue must be cleaned up.